ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ 'ਚ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਨੇ ਲਿੰਡਾ ਐਨਸ ਹੋਣੀ ਔਰ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਦਾ ਅੱਜ ਵਿਸ਼ੇਸ਼ ਕਾਰਨ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਕਸਟੋਰਸ਼ਨ ਕਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਕਈ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀਆਂ ਰਿਊਮਰਸ ਫੈਲ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਫਲਾਨਾ ਪੈਸੇ ਦੇ ਗਿਆ, ਫਲਾਣੇ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਤੇ ਗੋਲੀ ਚੱਲ ਗਈ, ਫਲਾਣੇ ਨੂੰ ਚਿੱਠੀ ਆ ਗਈ, ਤੈਨੂੰ ਚਿੱਠੀ ਆਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਈ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਹਰੇਕ ਮਹਿਫਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਣ ਲੱਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਲੋਕ ਭੰਬੱਤਰੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ, ਡਰੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ, ਚਿਹਰੇ ਤੇ ਝੂਠੀਆਂ ਮੁਸਕਾਨਾਂ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਮੈਂ ਕਈ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਕਿ ਚੰਗੀਆਂ ਚੰਗੀਆਂ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਵਪਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਫਲਤਾ ਹਾਸਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ, ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਟੌਰ ਟੱਪਾ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਮਹਿੰਗੀਆਂ ਕਾਰਾਂ ਖੜਾਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਡਿਸਪਲੇ ਆਫ ਵੈਲਥ ਕਰਨੋਂ ਗੁਰੇਜ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਇਹ ਭਬੱਤਰੀ ਹੋਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਨਤਾ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਕੋਈ ਚੰਗਾ ਸ਼ਗਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਅੱਜ ਵਿਸ਼ੇਸ਼ ਕਰਕੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਫੇਰ ਗੋਲੀ ਚੱਲੀ ਹੈ, ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਟਾਕ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਕੀਤੇ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਬੁਲਾਇਆ ਹੈਗਾ। ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਲਿੰਡਾ ਐਨਸ ਹੋਣੀ ਨੂੰ, ਜੀ ਐਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ। ਲਿੰਡਾ ਜੀ, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
The extortion letters and the firings on properties and businesses, they are not stopping. Real or not real, but the conversation is still there, and we keep doing talk shows and we keep asking questions. This is not people are not comfortable about this situation. We need to change something. We don't know what.
What's happening in Surrey right now and in Abbotsford and other parts of Canada is absolutely horrific, particularly these extortion attempts amongst the Indian community. And we need to get a grip on it, and we need to get it fixed right away. One of the things that I would like to encourage residents to do that are feeling threatened or that see suspicious activity, oftentimes they're afraid to call the police. They're afraid that if the people that are committing these horrific crimes find out that they've told, that they too will be subject to extortion attempts. So I'm encouraging people to call Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers provides people with the anonymity, so we don't take your name, your phone number, any personal information. We only take the information and pass it along to the police. And the identity of people that call us is protected by the Supreme Court of Canada, so nobody ever knows who gave that information.
Good suggestion, and we have done talk shows about Crime Stoppers, and normally what happens is when a shooting happens, when an extortion letter comes, we had few public meetings, and often police says that people don't cooperate. Maybe that's true, and maybe that is not 100% true, because I meet families and they're willing to talk, they're willing to cooperate. Their complaint is that nothing is being done. I know you can't change the law overnight, but that feeling that nothing is being done is also concerning.
It's very concerning, and I can say that oftentimes when these sorts of things are happening, they're very complex cases, and it sometimes takes the police, and here in Surrey, both the Surrey Police Service and the RCMP federally, because this problem isn't just a Surrey problem, although it's happening here far, far too much. The collaboration between the two organizations and the complexity, it takes a lot of time, and sometimes the police are doing a lot of work that we don't see. But I'd like to also just talk a little bit about the laws, because I think one of the reasons I think is that the laws in Canada around this are far, far, far too lax. People that are committing these horrific crimes, if they're not Canadian citizens, they need to be deported immediately. And if they are, or if they're not for that matter, and they're convicted, they need to go to jail for a very long time. We're far too lenient, and we need to let people that are contemplating committing these crimes that we're not open for business. They need to stop it and go elsewhere.
ਮੈਂ ਕਾਲਸ ਲੈਣੀਆਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਜੀ। ਅਗਰ ਕੋਈ ਜੈਨੂਅਨਲੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੋਈ ਕਾਮੈਂਟ, ਕੋਈ ਕੰਸਰਨ ਹੋਵੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੇ ਵਸਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਸਿਟੀ ਆਫ ਸਰੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਰੋਜ਼ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਐਸੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਇੱਕ ਲਿਹਾਜ਼ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੀ ਬਦਨਾਮੀ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਨੱਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਦਮ ਆਇਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈਗਾ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਅਗਰ ਜੈਨੂਅਨ ਸਵਾਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ, ਮੈਂ ਚਾਹਾਂਗਾ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਇਸ ਕੰਮ ਦਾ ਲਾਭ ਉਠਾਈਏ। ਬਕਾਇਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਕਾਰਡ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਔਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕਾਲ 1, 2, 3 ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਯਤਨ ਵੀ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਯੈਸ, we need to have some strictness about the laws. I do agree with that, but that's for the whole of Canada. That's a conservative political message too. But why only Surrey? Surrey is, experiencing a lot of law and order deteriorating situation.
It's not just Surrey, it's Surrey and Abbotsford and other, to a lesser degree, other municipalities throughout British Columbia, but it's also Calgary, it's Edmonton, it's Winnipeg and Brampton. It's a problem right across Canada. So we need to obviously change federal legislation, but the other piece that we need to do is make sure that people feel safe in their homes and feel safe now. And I have been talking on a regular basis to the Surrey Police Service, and I know that where there are incidents of higher than normal extortion cases, they're really increasing their patrols so that they are accessible and watching for signs, hopefully before it happens. But again, it takes a community. We all need to work together. If we see something suspicious or if we get that call, we need to let the police know right away. Don't wait 24 hours. Or if somebody is around your house that shouldn't be, or worse yet, your house gets shot at or your business, call the police immediately. If we wait 12, 15 hours or whatever, oftentimes much of the evidence is gone, and it makes it even more difficult for the police to collect the material that they need.
ਮੈਂ ਲਾਈਨਾਂ ਖੋਲ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਜੀ। ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਟਿੱਪਣੀ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਹੋਈ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਦਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਬੋਲ ਸਕੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ। ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਣੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੰਖੇਪ ਰੱਖਿਓ। ਮੈਂ ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਉਲਥਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਲੈਣ ਦਾ ਯਤਨ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ। ਐਂਡ I want to know, because you've been councillor twice already, and you already announced that you are going to be in the mayoral race as well. What kind of relationship exists between municipal government and the police day-to-day basis? Do they listen to the mayor, or they have their own system of handling the situation, and once in a while, on day-to basis, when asked, they provide information? I really want to know the anatomy and physiology of this relationship.
I can speak to my personal relationship with the police, and this is my personal relationship as a city councillor. I talk on a very, very regular basis to the Surrey Police Service and to the RCMP. Just yesterday, I talked a couple of times to the chief and to the deputy chief. I was at a meeting last evening at Surrey City Hall that was scheduled before all this happened a couple of days ago, or this last extortion attempt. And the chief and one of the deputy chiefs were there presenting to our livability committee about policing in Surrey. So we do talk on a regular basis. I can't speak for the mayor. I don't know how often she speaks to them, but I do know that I speak on a very regular basis as a city councillor.
Calls ਲਵਾਂਗੇ ਜੀ ਆਪਾਂ। We'll take a few calls as well. Just concerned citizens, your concerns very briefly to the point. Pritpal ji, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ। Pritpal.
Very good morning, Mr. Romana, and very good morning, Linda NS.
ਜੀ
And ਆਪ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਈ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਨਵੇਂ ਰੇਡੀਓ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ।
ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀ ਬਾਈ ਜੀ, ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀ, ਸ਼ੁਕਰੀਆ।
ਹਾਂ, my question to Linda NS, if she going to elect mayor in next election, which coming in next year in October, she going to increase boot on ground around 1,200 to 1,600. Number one, to control the law and order problem in city. And she increased the police budget without increasing the tax. My second question. My third question, she going to build up a 50,000 seat capacity arena.
No, we are not talking about the stadium yet. Let's stay on the law and order situation first. Thank you, Pritpal ji, ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀ। ਅਗਲੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਾਲਰ ਨੇ 5559 ਜੀ।
Yes. Good morning, Dr. Saab, and good morning.
Gill Saab.
Very brief questions, Linda. One is there anything going on the drawing board on the lines of I hit? My point is to form an integrated team, as you mentioned, 3-4 cities, between coordination could be easier. And second question, I know it is not easy to change the laws, but time to time amendments come, as we see Amendment 11 in the United States, Amendment this. First of all, I think my point is the bail conditions. The bail conditions are so lax. You arrest somebody in the evening and the guy is out by 2 a.m. Only these two questions. Thank you.
Great, Linda.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, we do have an integrated approach with the RCMP and the local police services, not just in Surrey, but across Canada to address the extortion Canada-wide. I believe there is about 12 different organizations involved. I might be a little off on my number, but close to that, so that what's happening in Surrey, we want to make sure it's not replicated in other places, or if we can get intelligence from other cities as well, so that we can get this addressed as quickly as possible. And I totally agree with you about bail and the need for bail reform. It's like a revolving door for certain crimes. People don't pay the price when they're committing crimes over and over again, and we need to fix that.
And the first question was, if you become mayor, would you be bringing more boots on the ground at nighttime when the crime happens?
It's very important. Community policing to me is absolutely critical. When people have a personal relationship with the police, or they see police on the round and on the streets, it makes a huge difference. And I just reflect back, and this was a long while ago, but when the Olympics were here and we saw police on every corner, both in Vancouver and in Whistler, what a difference it made. There was very little problems. And I think it's very important that the police are very present and very accessible to the residents.
Often it's said that, yes, people deserve justice, but they definitely want to see it happening as well. So the ways and means of the policing and their own, hesitation or maybe legal reasons for not telling too much to the public is a huge concern. You met few families, and the ones who are already victims of these threats or extortions and everything. I think, to me at least, I'm very curious to find out when the gang war was happening, when the drug war was happening, there were certain arrests being made, and they were not threatening people in general. But nowadays, I think more than 24 incidents already happened. We haven't seen any arrest. We haven't seen, and mind it that in the gang war or drug war, they used to kill person and then burn the car. That means assumption was that the car was stolen. But this new phenomena tells me that it's not a stolen car. So why couldn't they find out who that car belongs to, and why couldn't do any arrest or anything to show people that police is working hard?
It's a very complex problem, and I can tell you that most of the cars that are being used are stolen cars in this particular situation. But it's very, very complex. It's not only multi-city, it's likely multi-countries as well. So it requires a very, very complex organization. And one of the things that people maybe don't realize, the police here have to present their charges to Crown and get Crown approval before somebody can be charged. And sometimes that can be difficult. So it's not simple in British Columbia, and we alone are the only ones that have this process in place for laying charges.
ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਲਿੰਡਾ ਐਨਸਟਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਚੋਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਅਰਲ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਵਜੋਂ ਵੀ ਉਤਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਗਰਮਾ ਗਰਮ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਹੈ, ਕੋਈ ਨਵਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਇਹ, ਰੋਜ਼ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਇਹਨੂੰ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਜੜੋਂ ਫੜਨ ਦਾ ਯਤਨ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਅੱਜ, ਔਰ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਬਕਾਇਦਾ ਰਿਕਾਰਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਾਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਅਗਰ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਸਰਨ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਚਾਹੋ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਸਾਂਝੀਆਂ ਹੀ ਨੇ। ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਘਰ 'ਤੇ ਗੋਲੀ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਹੈ, ਫਿਰ ਯਕਦਮ ਸਾਡੇ ਟੈਂਟੀਕਲਸ, ਸਾਡੇ ਕੰਨ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਖੜੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਘਰੇ ਚੱਲੀ ਹੈ, ਕੌਣ ਆ ਉਹ, ਕੰਮ ਕੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਲੇਕਿਨ ਇਵੈਂਚੁਅਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਘਰੇ ਵੀ ਚੱਲ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਘਰ 'ਤੇ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਹੈ, ਸਾਰਾ ਮੁਹੱਲਾ ਠਠੰਬਰ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਸਾਰਾ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਠਠੰਬਰ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਬੁੱਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਵਾਚਦਾ, ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ, ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਸੂਚਨਾ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ, ਤਾਂ ਲੋਕ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਡਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਗੋਲੀ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਘਰ 'ਤੇ 2 ਵੇਰਾਂ, ਇੱਕ ਵਪਾਰ 'ਤੇ 2 ਵੇਰਾਂ, 3 ਵੇਰਾਂ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਲੇਕਿਨ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਕਿਸੇ 'ਤੇ ਵੀ ਚੱਲ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਪੁਲਿਸ ਫਿਰ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੀ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਕੁਛ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਢੰਗ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਬਟ ਡੈਫੀਨਿਟਲੀ ਮੈਂ ਦਾਅਵੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦਾ ਕਿ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਪੁਰਜ਼ੋਰ ਮੰਗ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਦੇ ਵਾਂਟ ਟੂ ਸੀ ਦੈਟ ਜਸਟਿਸ, ਦੈਟ ਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੈਪਨਿੰਗ। ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਲ 5 ਮਿੰਟ ਹੋਰ ਬਚਦੇ ਨੇ ਜੀ। ਲੈਟਸ ਲਿਸਨ ਟੂ ਦਿਸ ਕਾਲਰ ਐਂਡ ਦੈਨ ਵਿਲ ਕਨਕਲੂਡ ਦ ਟੋਪਿਕ। ਰਾਜਸਥਾਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਸਵਾਲ ਦੱਸੋ ਜੀ। ਰਾਜਸਥਾਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।
ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਜੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਦੇ ਸਕਦਾ ਜੀ, ਸਵਾਲ ਤਾਂ
ਵੈਰੀ ਬਰੀਫ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਸੰਖੇਪ 'ਚ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸੰਖੇਪ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਸੰਖੇਪ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਇੱਕ ਨਾ ਕਹਾਵਤ ਹੈ ਹਿੰਦੀ 'ਚ, ਅੰਧੇਰ ਨਗਰੀ ਚੌਪਟ ਰਾਜਾ ਟਕੇ ਸਿਰ ਭਾਜੀ ਟਕੇ ਸਿਰ ਖਵਾਜਾ ਹਿੰਦੀ ਦੀ ਕਹਾਵਤ ਆ। ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਰੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਐਕਸਟੋਰਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਰੌਲਾ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਨਤਾ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਜਨਤਾ ਜਨਾਰਦਨ ਮੰਨੀ ਗਈ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਬਾਕੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਪਾਵਰ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। ਮੇਅਰ ਨੂੰ ਉਦੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਜੇ ਹਜੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਸਮੱਸਿਆ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਜਨਤਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਜਨਤਾ ਜਨਾਰਦਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ।
Mirbani, shukriya. This caller, we know him. He's one of our regular callers. He lives in Vancouver, and he thinks that nothing is, everything is not well and not right happening in city of Surrey. So I guess he lives in Vancouver, but it's okay. He's exempted from commenting on us. He was saying that mayor has a lot of power. So what kind of power mayor has to fix these problems without involving provincial authorities?
First and foremost, I'd like to just remind or mention that last evening we had a presentation on policing and the crime severity index here in Surrey, and we were actually lower than Vancouver. So crime in Surrey is
Crime-wise.
less. Crime-wise, for violent crime in Surrey is less than Vancouver. So I just wanted to point that out.
I think we should have a sort of movement. Don't stigmatize Surrey.
I couldn't agree more. I think Surrey has a bad reputation and it's undeserved. When I look at other cities and compare our crime rate, we're not in as bad a shape. Yes, we have problems, particularly this extortion issue that we need to get fixed. But going back to the other part about the mayor's power, the police chief reports to the police board, who ultimately controls policing. But I can say that both when we had the RCMP or the Surrey Police Service, they're only a phone call away. And if the mayor or council want to engage and have suggestions or want to get updates, they're there 100% for us.
But somehow many people didn't like the Bishnoi terrorism idea, that came from Mr. Eby and came from Pierre Poilievre, and I think to a certain extent Mayor Brendalock was party to it as well. The Canadian government should declare Bishnoi group as a terrorist group.
What we need to do is get tough on our laws. We need to, if people are doing these kinds of activities in Surrey or in Canada, two things need to happen. If you're not a Canadian citizen, you need to go back to where you came from. If you are living in Canada and you are convicted of these kinds of offenses, you need to go to jail for a very, very long time. And in order for us to do that, that requires some legislative changes, both federally and provincially, and we need to get on that. And the mayor of Surrey and other mayors need to be advocating very, very strongly to make government, both provincially and federally, make these changes.
So what mayor can do, what our premier can do, what our prime minister can do, what system can do is not in my control, or people in general. They think that this is not their field of expertise. But I want to know more about, lastly, let's conclude the topic about Crime Stoppers. And I'm a bit curious to find, in comparison to other cities, city of Surrey people, the ones who live here, are they cooperative? Do they give information to Crime Stoppers more often? Or how do we perform on that stage? And what's the overall result of Crime Stoppers as far as the, giving them information and solving the cases is concerned?
Well, last year in Metro Vancouver, we got about 5,000 tips, anonymous tips. Those are calls that we get. We're not the police, so they come into us anonymously and we deal with them. In terms of Surrey, we do get lots of people calling us, but I think many of people don't realize that if you don't speak English, that they think they can't call us. Well, that's not true. We take tips in 115 different languages, so if you happen to speak Hindi or Punjabi or Mandarin or whatever language you might speak, if you call us 24/7, we can take the tip in your own language. So I would highly encourage people to call Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers allows you to leave information anonymously about any suspected criminal activity. Metro's been around now, Metro Vancouver Crime Stoppers, for 40 years. Since the inception of our program, we've gotten almost 9,000 arrests as a result of Crime Stoppers tips, and $500 million, not million, but $1 billion worth of property and drugs recovered. So the program works. People just need to use it and use it more often.
So let's once again say that on the air, that number, Crime Stoppers number, if you remember.
1-800-222-TIPS, or you can visit our website, www.solvecrime.ca, and leave information there. You can leave it in English or whatever language you speak.
Thank you for your time, and you're always very accessible. And just a phone call away whenever we call you, especially for Crime Stoppers. I think already done half a dozen shows with you. Thank you. ਅਗਲੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਡਾ ਲਾਖੋਣਾ ਨਾਲ. Mayor, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ. Welcome to the program.
ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ, Dr. Romano.
We just had a conversation about the extortion calls and shootings that are happening continuously for many, many weeks now, or maybe months, I should say that. And people are concerned. I just want to find out from your side, from mayoral side, from the police side, what's happening. Please, people want to know if something is being done and they are waiting for some concrete steps to be taken and concrete solutions.
Yeah, this is devastating for many people in our city. It certainly sickens me to my core what has been happening in our city with extortions and gun violence. But there have been some steps taken, and there will be more. So the JFO, the Joint Forces Operation, which is something that the police have with the Surrey Police have with the RCMP, has been expanded. It is much larger. There has been a lot of work being done in that regard. And so I know in talking both with the RCMP and with Chief Lipinski, they are moving forward on that. And to some degree, they're very hopeful that there's going to be some announcement coming in the very near future. But here's the problem, Dr. Romano. The problem, too, is that in BC, the police don't have the opportunity to lay the charge. That is a provincial law in BC that doesn't exist in any other province except for Quebec. Only BC and Quebec, the police don't have the ability to lay charges. That is a big problem. And so that has to be reviewed, and I have talked to the province about that, and I will continue to talk to the province about that. The other thing I have said to the Attorney General, to Nikki Sharma, was that Surrey should have a special prosecutor on this file. This file is significant, it's serious, and for whatever reason, she has not seemed to think that's necessary, but it is. It's very necessary. Surrey needs somebody that is singularly and only focused on these extortions that are happening in our city today.
Make us understand, Mayor, what purpose that will serve this demand of yours, special prosecutor. How will that help?
Yeah. So right now, first of all, there needs to be better support for the prosecutors generally. There isn't enough support, financial, from the province to make sure that they're there and ready to work on files. But if we had a special prosecutor that was only dedicated to Surrey, to this issue today, they would be only focused on this. Our prosecutors right now they have a number of different files that they're looking at every day. I want something specific to Surrey's extortion challenges right now and today. And so far, I have heard nothing from the Attorney General, and I will continue to raise that voice. But that is something that I think is really important, to put high priority and focus on this in our city.
Of course, we need to change the law. Of course, we need to be tough a little bit. And of course, there are certain things the provincial government is supposed to do. But can you elaborate what city can do, what mayor can do, and what's your power to make police answerable at the city level?
Yeah, well, I do meet regularly with Chief Lipinski. That is something that we have a very significant relationship on. We are meeting sometimes talking daily, but we certainly work very closely together. That is why they increased the joint force operation. That's why they increased that to the number they have. We have also upgraded our traffic intersection cameras. That's something the city can and has done. We've increased the resolution on those cameras so that they can identify, for example, not only faces, but they can identify especially license plates. So that's to support the police in their investigations. And we are looking at more cameras for those hotspots. We're constantly looking at how we can improve that. But I think the other and probably the very most important thing that we've done is we've created a public safety department, a general manager specifically focused on public safety. We have hired Brian Edwards. He is working today on issues and especially around our integration with the police and also fire bylaws and emergency preparedness, but he's very specifically right now focused on what's going on with the police. It's something that we all need to stand shoulder to shoulder with everyone, with the police, our partners, with our government partners. Everybody has to be putting their best foot forward.
And lastly, there was a demand from one of our callers that we need to have a more patrolling in the areas where these shootings are happening. We definitely have a map of that, and I don't see any purpose of making a police car, a police cruiser in front of a house for months and months. Rather than there should be 1 or 2 cars, police cars, patrolling continuously in the night times after 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. I mean, even every wise man's son knows that shootings happen in those 3 hours.
Yeah. You know, Dr. Romano, you're completely right about that. And that is when these thugs and criminals are coming out, and the police know that as well. And so I have I've talked to Chief Lipinski about that. They are focusing on those hotspot areas. They do know where they are, and they will continue to do that. I think you're talking about the decoy cars, and I understand that. And, you know, you're right about that too. They work for a very short period of time, but they really are not meant to do anything than deter for a short period of time. So, yes, the police are out there working those hotspot areas. Can they do more? Yes, and they must do more. But that is something that the chief is really working on, and I know it's been incredibly challenging.
Mayor, I want to thank you for your time. This is it for today, but definitely we'll keep calling and we'll keep discussing this topic in detail. People are concerned. They want answers.
Yes, no, and I appreciate it. You know, I did hear some of the comments by the previous caller, and I will tell you that we are doing everything we can think of right now to divert these criminals from their actions. It's not only transnational, so that it's provincial, it's federal, but it's also local, and so we are all working very, very diligently together on these crimes.
Thank you very much for your time. Have a nice day, Mayor.
Thank you. Bye now.
ਬ੍ਰੈਂਡਾ ਲੌਕਰ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਅਗਲੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਮੁਖੀ ਰਹਿ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਰਹਿ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਕੌਂਸਲਰ ਨੇ, ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਦੇ ਝਿਜਕਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਮਾਮਲਿਆਂ 'ਚ ਬੋਲਣ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ, ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਜੈਨੂਅਨਲੀ ਤਿੱਖੀ ਕਮੈਂਟਰੀ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਜੈਨੂਅਨ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਰੌਸ਼ਨੀ 'ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਖੈਸ਼ ਹੀਡ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਮਿਸਟਰ ਹੀਡ, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਵੈਲਕਮ ਜੀ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, pleasure to talk to you again, Dr. Romana.
We talked to Linda Ennis today, then we just had Mayor Brenda Locke, and the issue is same, that people want answers. Their questions are very simple, but the answers we are getting from different levels of the government and the politicians are very complex. I guess there has to be some simple answer, because all we want is peace in the city.
Well, I don't think it's complex. I think you're getting political rhetoric. You're getting political answers to simple questions. And like us and all of our community and others out there, we want to live in safe, secure environments. We want issues to be dealt with by those that are responsible for having the policies to deal with it. We want to ensure that we are holding these representatives accountable. We don't want to keep pointing the finger at everyone else when no matter what level of government you are at, you have a responsibility to do it. Politicians love to point the finger at someone else instead of looking at themselves in the mirror and say, I have a responsibility to do, and I'll hold those accountable to do it.
I want you to compare different cities. You are in city government in Richmond, and you have seen many cities, and you can always compare because that was your, business profession for many, many years. Do you think there's something big time wrong happening in city of Surrey, or this is a norm as it's being claimed that our crime rate is less than Vancouver?
Well, let me tell you, cities like Surrey that are growing each and every minute, they've got to be cognizant that some of the issues come with that growth. And unless you are proactive in trying to deal with that and getting in front of your problem, you will always be reacting to this particular problem. And that's the era we're in right now where it's just reactive. And what you notice is a bit of a phenomenon in a recent announcement by Vancouver to start to increase, for example, District 5 to deal with that ongoing issue, an historic issue of the downtown east side. But very important to that, Dr. Romana, and I think that was lost in a lot of the discussion, is Mayor Ken Sim is bringing in an accountability factor where he's having monthly performance reviews for all of the people in local government that are responsible for making the changes and ensuring we're addressing the problem. He's just not leaving it with the police. He's looking at the fire department. He's looking at building and permits. He's looking at the health department. He's looking at all of those other areas within city government that can make a difference in dealing with the issues in the downtown east side and elsewhere in Vancouver. Unless you bring in that accountability, and I was very assertive in trying to do that in policing, bringing in the success of, for example, the ComStat program in New York and applying it to Vancouver, where you're holding all of these police leaders and all these people that are making a considerable amount of money accountable to delivering on what needs to be done. And I'm encouraged by Mayor Sim taking that across all local government. That's what needs to be done, not just the police.
What would you do? This is a hypothetical question. I don't know if you want to answer it. What would you do if you are a city of Surrey police at this point and given conditions, what do you think is the right way and the most appropriate way of taking action?
Well, let me tell you, and talking a bit about what I just discussed here, is Surrey's gone through a chaotic period in the transition from the RCMP to the Surrey Police Service. And I think a lot of the hard feelings because of that chaos that they've gone through have not gone away. And I think that's going to directly affect a lot of what happens in that Surrey as far as public safety. We have to get beyond that. We have to get beyond the political positioning of certain people with respect to what has gone on. We have to work together, not only in Surrey, but throughout all of the regional area and throughout all of British Columbia, work together to get ahead of the problems that are facing our communities. So again, Vancouver, for example, may bring an accountability factor. And when I was in Vancouver, I brought in things to do with the gang violence, but we knew that just spread to another jurisdiction. And a lot of that spread to Surrey and the Fraser Valley. You know, you and I talked about that when we were transitioning through that. So Surrey has to get ahead of their problems, and they've got to come together as a local government, working with other areas to make sure they're able to deal with their problems of them being such a progressive, growing city.
Mr. Heed, I wanted to talk more, but sorry, falling short of time. And this is good enough for today. Thank you.
My pleasure.